Delarite, my MVVs, welcome.
Yes, so Delarite, it is not a small thing. No. Report has it that Ebony's family invokes something that is called Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ to block immunity removal. They said Ooni of Ife still refused after elders declared that Abede that they removed void over past wrongs. Okay, and so now they said there is something in the traditional, as in Yoruba tradition, that the royal tradition in Ile Ife that is called Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ. Okay, Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ. I may not be pronouncing that word well. I do know that you understand that I have these issues with pronunciation. Please forgive me, okay? They said this Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ, sometimes shortened in oral tradition to simply be called Abeda, is one of the old Yoruba palace decrees that were, not written down in modern laws, but carried enormous traditional weight in earlier centuries. It was used in specific royal marital dispute, and it worked as a kind of protective shield for a queen or wife against punishment or removal of royal covering. So like I said earlier, they said it was used in specific royal marital dispute, and it worked as a kind of protective shield for a queen or wife against punishment or removal of royal covering. The literal translation of the name can be broken into two. Àṣẹ, that means authority or decree. Olórí means queen or wife of a king, and Abeda refers to the ceremonial stool or platform of authority where such a decree was pronounced. Together, the phrase symbolically means the authority of the queen that cannot be, toppled from the stool. Okay. Now, historically, Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ could only be invoked by the wife's own royal or chieftaincy family, not the wife herself. In the older days of the Oyo Empire, Ife Kingdom and other Yoruba kingdoms, okay, a wife's family would gather before their local council of elders and declare that their daughter was under this decree if they believed she was being unfairly treated or her position was being threatened. Once pronounced, messengers would carry the declaration to the palace, and the king was expected to pause any plan, sanction, or removal of privilege until the matter was resolved through joint family and palace deliberations. This was done to prevent hasty action in times of palace conflict, especially when the wife came from a powerful lineage that could use political instability if insulted, right? And you and I know that Ebony comes from a very powerful lineage, and that is why you see these things have not been very easy for the Ooni of Ife. They said, come, let her remove immunity. She disappeared. And you think she just disappeared. They knew what they were doing. They used those 2 days to buy time to invoke this Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ. But in Ile Ife Kingdom, they said that the family will invoke, as in the family of the woman will invoke Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ. Then when they invoke it, the king is mandated to pause whatever, judgment or whatever until both families sit together and agree on what they should do. And right now, they have gone ahead to invoke it. But unfortunately, the Oba is saying, no, he is not going to go by that invocation of Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ. They said the working of the decree followed a process. First, the family had to show that their daughter had not committed an act considered a direct insult to the crown, such as public, defiance of the king's authority, physical attack on another royal, or betrayal that endangered the kingdom. If the elders of the wife family and the elders of her husband's palace both acknowledged that she was blameless or that the offense was minor, the Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ will stand. and her immunity or privileges remain. Okay, like that they will not remove it if they find out that she is innocent. It acted almost like a stay of execution in many modern society. However, there were clear limitations if the wife had a history of serious wrong that had already been judged in the palace before. These limitations will be there. The elders of the kingdom could overrule the decree. This was because the Àṣẹ was built on the idea of protecting the innocent or unjustly accused, not shielding someone with a repeated record of disloyalty or misconduct. When the record showed that a wife had in the past committed acts that harmed the king's honor or the peace of the palace, the elders could gather and nullify the decree, declaring that invocation, whatever the family invoke, can never stand and will hold no grounds. It is traditionally important, okay, that these rules are put in place so there will be balance, okay? And these rules were created to create balance in royal marriages, okay? In royal marriages in the Yoruba kingdom, but their power was also surrounded by counsel, customs, and symbolic check to prevent abuse or impulsive action. Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ was one of those checks. It reminded the palace that queens and wives often, came from influential family whose respect had to be maintained, especially in times when marriage was not just a personal relationship but a political alliance, okay? Now, ignoring such a decree without the elders' blessing could risk breaking alliances and stirring unrest in the wider kingdom. But what the problem is right now is Ebony innocent? They say the implication of invoking Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ is heavy. If upheld, the king had to restore or maintain the wife's position until a full reconciliation process took place. This could mean halting an immunity removal ritual, stopping relocation from royal quarters, or even preventing certain punishment. On the other hand, if elders rule it void, it means the wife had no further traditional shield left. The king could proceed with any action, and her family's political leverage in the palace would be weakened for years to come. Now, in Ebony's case, her family decided to invoke Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ to block the Ooni of Ife from removing her immunity. They approached the matter with the belief that the Ooni would be bound by tradition to obey, but the elders of the kingdom reviewed her past conduct and pointed out past wrongs, including palace dispute, accusation of stirring division, and action considered disrespectful to royal authority. Because of this history, they declared the decree void in her situation. The Ooni of Ife, hearing the elders' judgment, was not bound to honor the decree and could proceed with the immunity removal. This is, significant because once a decree like Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ is declared void in public, in the public by the elders, it is a permanent mark. It means that the wife's family loses one of the strongest traditional tools they could use in future dispute. It also sends a wider message to other palace wives and family that the traditional shield is not automatic. It depends heavily on a clean record and goodwill within the elders' palace. So this is the matter that is at hand right now, that has been going on. The back and forth movement, they went and they declared this Àṣẹ Olórí Àbẹ, and they expected the Ooni of Ife to go by it. They said the entire matter became not just about Ebony's immediate immunity removal, but also about her long-standing and her family influence in palace matters. By refusing the decree after the elders' ruling, the Ooni of Ife acted within the recognized limit of Yoruba tradition, and there was no further traditional appeal possible. From that point, they say Kabiyesi right now will go ahead and remove immunity. But we don't know what Ebony's family will want to do again. But one thing that we know is that this is not, as easy as everybody thought it ought to have been. I'm going to bring you more update. Do not forget that these are all alleged, rumored, unverified information making the rounds on social media and should not be seen as fact.